cycles show up everywhere in life, and it's a way to mark these rhythmic patterns that are not random. We can see that in Hinduism and Buddhism in these cycles of samsara, which is essentially life and death. We can see these in Mesoamerican cultures, which is Mayan, Aztec calendars. We can see this in astrology and astronomy with orbits of the sun and the moon and the zodiac calendar. We can see this in our human biology with the cycles of the breath, with menstrual cycles, with your circadian rhythm. I mean, it shows up everywhere in life.
I do want to talk about this concept of New Year's Eve, New Year's resolution being this very go, go, go energy, being this very I need to achieve, I need to take action, I need to do. When winter is this time to be, to reflect and to look inward and to shed.
For those who are deep enough to get it,
but profound enough to not care.
You're listening to Consciously Unconscious. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "You can never step in the same river twice."
The Greek who?
Philosopher?
Hiroshima?
Hiroshima? Heraclitus?
Heraclitus? That sounds like a disease.
Irinosoclitus.
That sounds like an incurable disease.
I don't know his name, but I don't know how to say his name, but he is an ancient Greek philosopher. He says, you can't step in the same river twice.
I love that. Can you break it down a little bit?
You can't step in the same river twice, implying that every river is in motion. There's always constant movement, cycling of water.
Everything's a cycle?
Everything's a cycle. You can't step in the same river twice. Or someone else says it, I can't remember how they say it, but like, you never step in the same river as the same man or something. Have you heard that one? Like, every time you step into the river, you're a different person. Oh, I'm going to have to pull that one out.
Now we're getting into shape-shifting?
Yeah. Paradigm or quantum jumping, rather.
Quantum leaping.
Quantum leaping.
I apologize for my voice today, guys. I'm a little overcome with the sniffles, but...
That was me last week. How's it feel?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel fine, which is good. I was a little worried that I was going to come down with a full illness, but I think it had to do with the copious amounts of wine that I drank.
Yeah, for the Christmas season.
Yeah.
You know, it actually is something that I used to try to make myself sound sick when I was young because I loved the raspiness of my voice.
Did you have a raspy voice when you were a kid?
I sounded like I do now, I think. Do I have a raspy voice now?
Talk?
So I have a raspy voice.
I'm like, talk? As if I don't
As if you don't hear me every single day.
There's a little rasp to it.
I think it depends on the time of day that you get me.
Yeah.
You know, a little raspy in the morning when
I hear the rasp right now.
I guess it depends on how lubricated my vocal cords are, but...
I had the most raspy voice as a kid. Like, rasp city.
A little kid with a raspy voice, so cute.
So cute. I also had an attitude problem too, so...
Yeah, you know, you had a lot going on there. You probably had norovirus too.
Probably.
Welcome back. We missed you. Happy holidays.
We hope you had a beautiful Christmas.
Yeah, or whatever you celebrate. We're inclusive. Sorry. It's not just Christmas elves here.
I have a problem of speaking only from my own experience.
Yeah, and she is the problem in the world. This is why we live in segregated societies. This is why we have a problem, is because everyone only speaks from their own experience, which is all you have, right? But try to be better.
The first step is awareness.
The first step is admitting you have a problem. Hi, I'm Amanda, and I'm a narcissist. We hope you had a beautiful time. We're kind of in that gap in between Christmas, if you celebrate, and the New Year.
What? Kwanzaa, too?
Kwanzaa. I don't actually know when Hanukkah and Kwanzaa is.
Kwanzaa is actually the day after Christmas. I only know that because I saw it on my calendar.
Nice.
It was the 26th. I actually don't know the tradition. Oh.
It's Kwanzaa getting
Bless
to me.
If anybody celebrates Kwanzaa, can you actually let us know what it's about? Can you culture us? Because we have no idea. Or Hanukkah. We have no idea.
Hanukkah is a menorah.
Hanukkah is the menorah. I'm not sure what the menorah actually does. I heard, don't you get like 8 nights of presents or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's more than 8.
You know what? Can we talk about that? If you were Jewish, do you feel FOMO? Because I feel like Christmas is so in your fucking face.
It is. It's very commodified. It's very just like pushed as everyone in the country is supposed to celebrate Christmas.
Where are the Starbucks menorah cups?
The marketing is Christmas forward.
It really
Christmas
is.
sells.
Christmas sells.
So does sex.
Well, I think that the one highlight, I had many highlights of my Christmas week, but the biggest highlight was meeting Jessa's parents.
I love when you get older and you have left your hometown and your parents don't know any of your adult friends yet. And you get to bring them into your world. My parents came out. It was just the two of them to Colorado for Crimby. And I had them over to my house. And that's their favorite thing to do is like meet my friends and just kind of see what my life is like on the daily, who I spend my time with, all the things. And I was like, you have to meet Amanda and Lucas. And of course they were riveted to just like see who you are, especially since we've been in this podcasting endeavor. And my mom listens to every episode. Hi, Mama.
Shout out Kristen. She's
Shout
the
out
best.
Crispy. She's going to be our momager.
She needs to be. She gives the best feedback ever.
Death to Kris Jenner.
Yeah, watch out.
Birth to Chris Fragnoli. And we went out to Uchi, this like amazing sushi place, and we had the worst waitress ever. She was so unenthused by our presence, but we made a joke of it. It was kind of the shtick the whole time.
She was rushing us out too, which if you are a paying customer, what is the point?
I get it. People have a bad day. I've been a waitress before. I've been in a situation where the last place you want to be is waiting tables. I can have empathy for that. I have a place of compassion in my soul for how terrible of a job that can be sometimes.
You know what? I can't.
And back to Amanda having a problem.
I can't.
No,
because
I mean,
you know what? You always have an opportunity to turn that shit around. And when you are in front of people and all we are doing is being kind and charismatic
and racking up a
smiling
tab
and racking up and putting money in your fucking pocket, put a smile on your face.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry.
Please.
I mean, you can cheer yourself up that way.
That's facts, Amanda.
Thank you.
But we digress. We had fun anyways without her involvement. Every time she came over to the table, I was like snarling at her. I'm like,
she's hissing.
Everyone's like, do you want to go somewhere else, Jess? Because like everyone else was actually having an okay time, like ignoring this woman. I couldn't let it go.
Well, because you were the closest to her. You were on the end.
Yeah, I was the one having to interact with her. And,
yeah.
You know, it's like the second course. She's like, are you ready for dessert? I'm like, we're still on savory. All right. We just sat down. So the next time she comes up, she goes, are you still on savory? I'm like, I actually want to know your first, last name, social security number, and address because I'm going to show up at your home.
She did not hold back.
No, she didn't. But my parents loved you. We had such a good time. And it's funny to hear your parents tell their stories to other people because my parents are my parents, right? Like I know their story just peripherally from being part of it and also from the way that they tell it to me from a specific lens. But to hear them tell it to you was so interesting because of the parts that they chose.
Yeah.
And vice versa, to hear you tell your story to them.
Yep.
Like it's just when you combine family and friends or friends and friends, or you put people together where you get to step back and be the observer and be the listener. Like I maybe said 20 words at dinner, which was like so nice because I just got to watch you guys meld minds, but to listen to the parts of yourself that you chose to share was so fun.
Was it?
Yes.
Well, I agree because I was telling Lucas, I almost felt nervous before showing up to meeting them because I was like, I'm meeting the parents. Like
meeting the parents.
I haven't met my friends' parents in such a long time because we are adults and a lot of my friends who live in Denver, their parents don't even live here. So I'm not around people where I know the parents, and if I do know the parents, I've known them since high school.
Doesn't it just explain so much when you meet someone's parents?
It explains so much, but the really interesting thing was Jessa, I feel like, is a perfect blend of both your dad and your mom. I think your dad and your mom both have an intellectual side and like a goofy side, but your mom is way more, at least the way that I perceived it, way more of like the wise, like the intellectual comes off that way. And your dad is way more the charisma, the like funny, goofy. It was so interesting to see what parts of Jessa she got from each parent. And I'm sure it's so multi-layered, but Yeah, it was a blast. Your parents are amazing. I really, one thing I really enjoyed was that they were engaged. Like they wanted to be there to get to know us. I feel like sometimes when you meet people, even parents or people who are older in general, they're like disinterested. They're
Yeah.
really not wanting to be present. Your parents were so present, which I appreciate.
And then at the end of the night, they got to meet your kids. Your parents showed up. Our parents got to meet each other. It was just like a very wholesome moment. Very cute.
It
Very
really
sweet.
was. It really was.
Yes. Meshing of the families.
No, it was perfect. And my parents were a little jealous. Sorry, mom and dad.
I need
Afterwards.
to go out to dinner with your parents.
You do need to go out to dinner with my parents because my parents live here. But yeah, my dad was like, you could have invited us. You could have invited us. We would have come. We would have come.
I did think of that. I'm like, oh, well, I've lived here for so long and we've never really gotten dinner with all of them.
No, I really wanted to just meet Jessa's parents though with Lucas and just have that. Even before we were planning to have the kids be there the whole time, but I was like, no, if I can just sit there with Jessa's parents and get to know them and give them that time and have them get to know me, like that was important to me.
Yeah.
Especially because your mom does listen to the podcast and she is like super involved in a way. She takes the time to be thoughtful. She sent us this long email that really helped us figure out kind of where we want to go with this. And so, no, it was lovely. It was lovely.
I think something that my mom has also loved over the years, which I wonder how you'll feel as you raise your children, and it's something that I aspire to do, is like also be a mother to my friends.
Yeah.
Because I think she's noticed a big gap in parental relationships
Yep.
where they struggled with their relationship with their mom. And I think that it gave her a lot of peace to provide support and love and advice. And
Your mom she comes off as that natural, I don't want to say nurturer, but it's more teacher. She
Yeah.
comes off as a natural teacher.
Yeah.
All she wants to do is give you an opportunity to be your best self. And that literally like oozes off of her.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that'll be really cool if you can see that in gaps in your children's friends' lives.
Oh,
because-
for sure.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. Like, we are not going to let our kids sleep over at other people's houses. They can come to us. Like,
Yeah.
we are going to be here and we're going to talk to them and we're going to
Love.
we're going to be the cool parents. We're also young.
You are the cool parents.
I know. And Lucas always jokes that like, I'm going to be the MILF of
You
Lennox's,
are the MILF.
Lennox's friends. And I'm like, I want to go to Lennox's house.
I want to go to Lennox's house. I want to actually just hang out with his mom.
Yeah, literally.
Well, how are you feeling about 2025? I mean, today is what, the 20 whatever?
Today's the 27th. We actually have amazing New Year's Eve plans.
It was so spur of the moment. I'm so in. That's what I want 2025 to be, just filled with like yes moments, spur of the moment, not thinking too hard about my decisions. I want them to flow with ease. I want to just be like open arms, palms up, receiving energy. Sure, sure, sure. Yes, sure. And I just was like, I'm going to look at tickets to LA because we have a good friend, Taylor, who lives there. Love you, Taylor and Jamie. Can't wait to see you. And tickets were like $150. And so I just texted her and was like, hey, I'm coming for New Year's Eve. And she was like, okay, perfect. I booked a ticket. I texted Amanda. I said, you want to come? She said, yeah. I texted Taylor. I said, Amanda's coming. She said, okay, perfect. We got in a group message. We all booked a flight. We all booked a rental car. We're headed to LA.
Going to Hollywood.
The city of dreams. Wait, New York's the city of dreams. What's LA?
City of Angels.
Is it? Oh, okay.
That was really bad, but yeah. The City of
City of Angels.
And one thing about me is I've been to LA many times, but never as an adult. I want to say the last time I went was like 16. And so I really don't remember. I have a terrible memory. So I really don't remember a lot of it. And I'm really excited to do like the touristy shit. I want to go walk the stars or whatever it's called. I want to go to the Hollywood sign. What's Runyon Canyon, like where all the celebrities hike? Like, I want to go do the celebrity touristy shit.
Yeah, okay.
Lucas is like, okay, that's the other thing.
Lucas has the entire itinerary planned. I'm slowly uncovering Lucas's layers of the onion that he is type A.
Oh, he's extremely anal. And especially when it comes to travel, he's a Sagittarius. So all he wants to do is travel, adventure, and do things, but he loves to plan his trips, especially because we're only going to be there for a few days. So he's like, okay, I thought that maybe when we get there, we can first go to Santa Monica, okay? And then we can take the 101 up to Malibu, have some lunch in Malibu, maybe put our feet on the sand, and then we can go drive through Calabasas and down to Beverly Hills. And I'm like, babe, how long is this going to take us? He's like, yeah, maybe we can like refine that a little bit.
Every relationship takes a good balance of type A and type B.
Yeah.
Every relationship takes a planner and a chiller.
Yep.
And I vow to anyone listening who would like to be in a relationship with me, I am the chiller. Okay? I will never be the planner.
I think that Lucas and I ebb and flow. I think that he has become increasingly more of the planner, and I've been increasingly more of the chiller. But in the past, I was the planner and he was more of the chiller.
It's a good cyclical.
It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, we will kill each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends on the season. But yeah, we're headed to LA. We're so excited. I mean, California, I can totally see the draw of why people are just, I mean, I get it why people move there. There's something so special in the air, in the ambiance, in the energy, in the people, in the lifestyle, in the ocean, in being literally at the edge of a continent.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you really think about it, you are at the edge of an entire landmass at the ocean. And I mean, you grew up in Florida, like same opposite side of the country. But I also understand why people are leaving. I mean, there's massive natural disasters. The taxes are extremely high. The cost of living. I mean, there's a lot happening that would send people out of the state as well. So it's like this perfect influx and outflux of people. I think that it's
creating space.
It is for us.
Yeah.
Make way, baby.
I think for me, 2025, I agree with you. It's more of this spontaneity shining through versus this planning energy. It's more of being the chiller versus being the planner. And I think that I just made a post on my Instagram the other day about how I feel like I'm finally in this place where I am no longer desperate and chasing all of these goals or wanting to force things to happen. And I really am just going into the new year with ease. Like you said, palms open, palms facing up, like very much just like incongruency with, is that the right word? That's the wrong word. In alignment, I think, whatever, same thing. In alignment with, I now feel like I am mind, body, soul, exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I think that really just happened through refining and kind of weeding out the things that weren't working anymore. Mm-hmm. But I now realize that the journey, the now, is really where the delight, the surprise, the realizations, the opportunities come in. And when you fine tune so much, you narrow down to this one vision, this one thing that you want, you miss things.
Oh yeah.
And I think I found this guy, because I've been on our YouTube. My YouTube is logged into our YouTube page, and I've been researching some things about like cycles and things like that. And I found this guy, I forget his name, but he literally just sets up a camera. It's probably either his iPhone or a shitty little camera.
And just talks.
Sits outside in his double wide, smokes a cigarette, and talks about existence.
Love.
He
I aspire.
is my muse.
Yeah.
He is amazing. And he was
talking outside in his double wide. Obsessed.
Dude, he does. He literally is a double wide. I'll drop his information below because he's
the link.
He's great. And I'm really into right now predicting 2025 how social media is going to shift, how the landscape of media is going to shift, and how people are really wanting less of the flashy, trendy TikTok and Instagram 7-second reels and shit. And they really just want substance. They want value. They want to feel like someone's just setting up a camera and speaking from the heart. No cuts, no edits, just fucking being. And he talks about how everything is a cycle like we're talking about. And if you miss an opportunity, it's going to come back to you again. Like there's really no such thing as missing an opportunity, because if you miss it, it's going first of all, what this concept rides off of is the belief that everything that is meant for you will happen.
Right. It's the same cheesy saying of everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you believe that everything that is meant for you will happen, then there is no such thing as a missed opportunity because it's always going to come back to you.
Well, and there's no such thing as a missed opportunity because what you quote unquote missed was actually never meant to hit you, was never meant to find you. The first thing that came to mind when you were talking about kind of like the embrace of the journey versus the destination is, maybe we talked about this on a past podcast, but this idea of if you don't have a destination, you can't get lost, right? So you're just meandering. Have you ever heard of the poem Santiago by David Whyte?
No.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. I think that it's based on El Camino, which is the path from France to Spain. It's like a 300-mile long path that people walk. It's amazing. It's my goal to do someday.
Wait, can we do it?
Yeah.
And vlog it?
Yes. It's so, I mean,
We should do a documentary.
there's a lot of people that do that on,
But not consciously unconscious doing it.
but not us, but not podcasting along the way, not carrying all the equipment. But it's essentially that. It's essentially this idea of like this road that is seen and then not seen. It's embracing the journey along the way. You must read it because it talks.
Read it.
Do you want me to read it right
Yes,
now?
read it.
It's actually pretty short. Okay.
Santiago.
David Whyte is an amazing poet, especially since you're into poetry. But it just highlights like the uncertainty and the mystery of the journey. Let's see if I can find it. Santiago, David Whyte. Slam poetry, bitch. Estimated reading time 1 minute. The road seen, then not seen. The hillside hiding, then revealing the way you should take. The road dropping away from you as if leaving you. To walk on... Oh, let me start over.
Run it back.
The road seen, then not seen. The hillside hiding, then revealing the way you should take. The road dropping away from you as if leaving you to walk on thin air, then catching you, holding you up when you thought you would fall. And the way forward, always in the end, the way that you followed, the way that carried you into your future, that brought you to this place, no matter that it sometimes took your promise from you, no matter that it had to break your heart along the way. The sense of having walked from far inside yourself out to the revelation to have risked yourself for something that seemed to stand both inside you and far beyond you, that called you back to the road only in the end you could follow, walking as you did in your rags of love and speaking in the voice that by night became a prayer for safe arrival, so that one day you realized that what you wanted had already happened long ago in the dwelling place you had lived before you began, and that every step along the way you had carried the heart and the mind and the promise that first set you off and drew you on, that you were more marvelous in your simple wish to find a way than the gilded roofs of any destination you could reach. As if all along you had the thought that the end point might be a city with golden towers and cheering crowds, and turning the corner at what you thought was the end of the road, you found just a simple reflection and a clear revelation beneath the face looking back. And beneath it, another invitation, all in one glimpse, like a person in a place you had sought forever, like a broad field of freedom that beckoned you beyond, like another life and the road still stretching on. I read that fast, but essentially it's the idea of the journey and that the path ahead is not always clear. And that's the gorgeousness of the unpredictability of the journey, because if you knew where you were going, if you knew you were getting to this city of lights and golden dreams, and then you got there, okay, great, now what? Or you have this expectation of what you're going to get, and then you get there and it's not that. Disappointment.
This is my problem with vision boarding.
Why?
Because sometimes I feel like, well, also, I'm a specific manifestor in human design. What are you?
I think I'm non-specific.
Okay, that makes sense as to why you like vision boarding.
I don't like it or not like it. I've never really dove into it. The only vision boarding I've really ever done is on Pinterest.
Yeah.
Which I do like the idea of kind of collaging and putting images in front of my face to kind of see what I'm calling in.
Yeah.
But I've never really leaned into it.
In human design, you can be either a specific manifestor or a non-specific manifestor. And basically what this means is that when you're trying to call in a manifestation or a vision or a goal, If you are a specific manifester, you need to get really granular about it. So say you're looking for a house. You need to say, I want a house with floor to ceiling windows. It needs to be white and there needs to be a window above the sink. Like super, super specific. If you are non-specific, you just need to say, I would like to buy a house in the city of Denver. Very broad. Okay. And so usually if you are a specific manifester, you fucking hate the fact that you're a specific manifester because you think it's so hard to get super specific.
Yeah.
If you're a non-specific, you wish you were specific. It's like we kind of want what we don't have. The grass is greener. And I think that the problem that I have with vision boarding is that I feel like it narrows me into a vision that neglects all of the spontaneity that can come in.
Well, you have to leave room for the universe to co-create with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to control every outcome, maybe it's through a vision board, maybe it's through your journaling, maybe it's through your goal setting, however you do that, you have to leave room for surprises. You are not the only person in charge here.
Mm-hmm.
There is something, whether you believe in it as a god, whether you believe in it as source, fate, whatever you call something bigger than yourself, if you are not an atheist, that's that co-creator. That's something that comes and joins you as trust, as fate, as source energy that, you know, steps in and says, I'm going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, give me the space to do so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you mentioned that you're really leaning into for 2025 is trust. I think one of the first sentences that you used had the word trust in it. And
I don't know if I said that, but
okay,
that's
well,
what I meant. We read each other's minds.
That's exactly what I got
We
through my
finish each
clairvoyance.
other's
Sandwiches.
Thank you.
That's what I was going to say.
No, you're right. Trust it. That is exactly what, but it's not even this. I think in the past, my word of the year probably has been trust before.
That's a great idea to have people do is pick a word of the year.
Let's do a word of the year. I might need to pick mine at the end of this so I can really mull over it. But I think that in the past, I've picked a word of the year. I think mine last year was freedom, maybe.
I was just about to pick freedom.
Were you?
Yeah. Or free.
Free. Yeah. I think in the past I have picked trust before, but it's almost like okay, I'm trusting, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna trust.
Convincing yourself that you're trusting.
Myself. Now it's almost that I don't even need to name it. I just am.
Love.
And so we'll pick a word of the year, but my throat's a little ticklish, so can we get Beveragina out of the way?
Okay, Beveragina, this is the perfect. Did you already taste it?
No.
Okay, Beveragina of the Weeko came in a what are those things called that hold hot water? That you used to bring to school with like a thermos. I brought a thermos this morning from my house, and I brought some hot water, and it's got a little tea bag in it. So this week's beverage of the week is a rose tea, and it's really soft for us because I knew Amanda was sick, so that was a plus. But also this idea of a rose bush, and we're talking about cycles and death and rebirth, in a sense. In a very grand scheme of things, the new year brings this reflection of rebirth and renewal. And a rose bush is the perfect example of how it has many cycles throughout the year. It has this period of stillness and dormancy and no leaves, and it looks like it's dead. Even though it's not, it has stillness. And then it goes through the springtime and it starts to bud and it starts to open and it starts to bloom and it starts to blossom. And then it shows itself in full form and it has all these beautiful bushes or flowers on it. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, look at this rose bush. We can finally now appreciate it. It's so amazing. And it goes into its like most grand capacity, right? And its most grand form of appreciation. And then it starts to shed its leaves and it starts to decay and it starts to kind of go back into its hibernation mode. And so it goes through this cyclical process of blooming, showing itself, decaying, hibernating, coming back through. And so it's this reminder that, first of all, everything is impermanent and everything is cyclical and everything is just as beautiful as it is in its full blossom form in every stage. And you need to have the stages of stillness and silence and softness and contraction to be able to have the periods of expansion and openness and blossoming and blooming.
Jessa,
You like
that was so that was so like creative, but also eloquent and like right on the money.
Thank you. I feel like I've been slacking on beverage of the week, and so I really had to come out strong.
Okay, well, can I
So
sing?
let's try it. Yeah. Oh, yes, please.
Can I call you Rose? Can I call you?
She were saving that up. And can I call you Rose? Yeah.
Like a
That was
beverage
good.
of the week.
You're giving Rosebush with your
Cheers.
cheers. Happy 2025.
Happy 2025.
Mm.
Oh my
Perfect
God, it's
temp.
good.
It's really good.
It's not too sweet. It's got that like bitter tea taste at the end.
Yeah. I do believe it has a little bergamot in it.
Is it black tea or is it herbal?
It's herbal. It's an organic herbal.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Just want to like cozy up with my Maya Angelou poem book and just
Right. With David White Santiago
David
on,
White
the porch.
Santiago.
On the porch? Why did I say porch? I don't know.
The double wide porch.
Anyways, this idea of cycles is really interesting because of how it shows up everywhere in our life. So right now it's pretty relevant in terms of like the calendar year, which we've deemed to be a cycle in our own right of time, 12 months of the year, however many weeks in a year, however many months, we've broken down time in a way. But cycles show up everywhere in life, and it's a way to, again, kind of like mark these rhythmic patterns that are not random. So we can see that in Hinduism and Buddhism in these cycles of samsara, which is essentially life and death. We can see these in Mesoamerican cultures, which is Mayan, Aztec calendars. We can see this in astrology and astronomy with orbits of the sun and the moon and the zodiac calendar. We can see this in our human biology with the cycles of the breath, with menstrual cycles, with your circadian rhythm. I mean, it shows up everywhere in life.
Even as simple and tangible as as day and night.
Day and night.
As simple as day and night.
Yes. And day and night is one of the first measures that we had to create more refined versions of cycles that we use to create more cycles. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, right? But when we just, if we're thinking in terms of evolution, and we came to be through evolutionary measures, and humans developed these brains with frontal lobes, and we were like, okay, we have to somehow like quantify or deliberately create society through creating time. Even before creating a calendar or a clock or whatever, we noticed, okay, the sun comes up and the sun goes down.
And in the spring and the summer, we have longer days, shorter nights. In the fall and the winter, we have shorter days and longer nights. So it was also a way to measure seasons.
Yes. Yes. So we looked at the world around us and noticed natural patterns.
And aligned ourselves with those natural patterns.
Correct. That's the key.
That's the rub.
That's the rub. And how far off are we from those now? That's crazy.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Extremely. And I think that when, at least I'm sure most of the people who are listening to this podcast have had a moment in their young adult life as they're, you know, getting older, where they are starting to be more in tune with their bodies. And I know a lot of women are on this wave of getting off of birth control and trying to align their cycles. Because again, our menstrual cycle, that is our sixth sense. Like, it is, our ovulation is another marker of how healthy we are. And so this cycle within us, this natural cycle that is literally correlated with the moon, is what keeps us in alignment with our potential, our mood, our ability to thrive in this earth. And so
keeps us in equilibrium.
Keeps us in equilibrium. I mean, we have to be there in order to thrive. And so I think that, I forgot what I was going with that. Just fucking lost my train of thought.
Just midway through, I said equilibrium and she went, the fuck? I
I said
mean,
that part.
yeah, what she said. I think that, I mean, I don't know where you were going either.
Wait, I can get it back.
Hit it back.
Talking about this new wave of women becoming more in sync with their body. My point about birth control.
Ah,
My point is that we have all of these distractions in our modern day society, whether it is electricity, changing our circadian rhythms and
yep.
making us stay up later and not go to bed with the sun and rise with the sun. We have things like birth control that literally inhibit our sixth sense. That's where I was going with it, of our natural cycle, our natural rhythm. And where has it gotten us? Where has living out of alignment with nature and our biology harmfully impacted us? And how can we then also participate in this modern day society?
Yeah. Well, you know what I think bottom line it's gotten us away from is that trust that we were talking about. It's given us this need to feel like we have to control everything in our life because we don't feel aligned, we don't feel in touch, we don't feel in tune enough to have a calm enough nervous system to feel like we can trust, to feel like we can be open to co-create with the universe, to feel like we can be just like in this space of openness and general like literally your endocrine system, your nervous system, your hormonal like bodies are not aligned enough to leave you in a state of feeling calm. And so
Is that
therefore
purposeful, do you think? To create a
probably
society of people who are out of alignment and their nervous systems are wrecked and they're kind of in this state of fear?
probably I mean, I don't know if it started off as purposeful.
But it's an advantage now.
I think it's definitely an advantage to keep people under control and worker bees and, you know, contributing to the greater good of making other people more money. I think that, you know, I do like to believe that people are inherently good. And so we've gotten ourselves a little wrapped up and a little bit too far with all these advancements that we've made, both industrial, technological, economic. Like we've gone further than I think we've ever expected. And we're going to continue to go there with AI and with all these things that are just like surfacing that we can't even imagine how far we're going to go, right? Like we didn't even know the automobile was going to exist. And so, you know, everyone's joking, oh, someday there's going to be flying cars. There's already cars that drive themselves. Like we just have no idea where it's going to go. But the point is, I think way back when societies were very primitive, advancements that now we think are so evil and against us that are taking away from our innate humanness were designed to help us. And they were designed with good intention. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Have you heard that?
Amen. I think
that's Friedrich Nietzsche who says that.
Shout out the niche.
Shout out the niche. Friedrich Nietzsche is another great.
You know what's really interesting is 2025 is a 9 year. 225.
9 is a year of completion.
My question to you is if the daytime and the nighttime, if circadian rhythms, if menstrual cycles, if seasons, if years are cyclical, if life is cyclical, what happens if we don't let the cycle complete itself? What happens if we don't match up with the natural rhythm or natural cycles? What happens?
Or what if the cycle has no choice but to just complete itself?
You're all going to die next year.
No, but I mean, like, I think, you know, I think that's a good question. And that's an interesting way to put it. So in terms of numerology, what we just finished, 8 this year, an 8 year, 2024 is a year of abundance. 8 is health and power and abundance, which is really interesting because it kind of didn't feel that way. But I do think power is really relevant because it's both this search for power. We've seen the biggest wealth disparity gap we've ever seen in our lives. And we've seen these people in positions of power searching for the most power that they've ever needed, wanted, had. I mean, like this greediness and this need for more and this need for power is a disease. And that is the most prevalent ever. But we have also seen these generations, Gen Z and like the the millennials are now starting to step up and rise up, stand up and say, we're powerful too. And we're going to start to stand up and rise up against some of these institutions and these systems. And like, this is a revolution. I mean, if you haven't already looked around, wake up, because we're part of a revolution that's happening right now. We're mid revolution. I mean, things are happening that are going to be written about in history books. We are part of history right now. These are big, big moments. And so it's interesting that we move into a year 9. 9 is completion of a cycle, but 9 is also representation of humanitarian and service and giving. And so to answer your question, like, what if we don't let the cycle complete itself? Everyone's predicting that the next couple of years are just going to be chaos.
Chaos. I've seen far too many YouTube videos from astrologers that make me want to move to Europe.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is a way that we can interfere with the cycles completing itself. I think that nature will always win.
Yeah.
And I think that if you believe that nature and source and fate all works together, there is no way that cycles can't complete. I think that if we're talking as granular as like habit cycles and negative patterns that we create for ourselves, like especially going into this new year, everyone's making fucking resolutions and all of these goals that are unattainable because they don't have the foundation that set them up with good intention to achieve these things in a realistic way. And so I think that if you are continuing to resist and force things, you're going to just make that cycle longer versus inhibiting it from completing. It's always going to complete.
Yeah.
It just might take you a little longer to get there.
It's also interesting to think about the microcosms that exist in macrocosms. So cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. I mean, down to like
it's like space. I can't.
Right? It's really trippy. It's very meta. The breath is probably, I mean, it's not the smallest cycle we can get to, but if we want to just like take it there for an example, like your breath is a cycle, and then your life, and then your bubble is a cycle, and then your friend group is a cycle, and your family is a cycle, and then this, and then society, and then culture, and then the globe, and then like it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can make a diagram of this to make it easier to look at visually. But there's cycles that are opening and completing and renewing and contracting, and all, like everything is also happening all at once. And so it also depends on what cycle we're talking about. Because yes, on a grand scale, we see a lot of the cycles align seasonally, globally. Women align their periods. I mean, like we see a lot of overlap, but there's also so many different microcosms existing cyclically within, which is crazy.
Where did New Year resolutions even come into play?
Well, isn't there something about a Greek god? Because the Roman calendar was so the calendar in general was created in ancient Greek, or the 12-month calendar that we think of now, where it was 11 months and they moved it to 12.
It was 10 months and then moved to 12, and yeah.
It was a whole thing, and
which, by the way, goes to show you even more that time is such a construct. Because do we even know what the fuck if we are in 2025?
No,
because
it's completely made up. Time is a social construct.
Yes, because I was reading that the Gregorian calendar, which we operate in today, was created in 1582 by the Roman Church, by the Catholic Church. But
Pope Gregory, Gregorian calendar.
But there were countries that did not adopt it. Yeah. Like Great Britain did not adopt it till 1751.
So those people,
those people woke up one day on September 3rd, and the next day was September 14th.
You know what's crazy to think about is that we could not be this organized of a society, organized in quotations because there's so much chaos that still exists, but like this functioning of a society if we didn't create time, though. The only reason that we have advanced this far is because we have categorized time. I mean, we knew exactly what we were doing when we created a 24-hour day, a 7-day week. Like we completely broke down I mean, it first started agriculturally to be able to get the most out of growing our crops and, subsisting and living off of the land.
Mm-hmm.
But it slowly moved into how can we make money?
Mm-hmm.
How economically is this going to be the most beneficial? And so we've built and we built and we've built. And now, from a sociological lens, you can see how we've created an entire global calendar that dictates and determines when people rest, when people celebrate and play, and when people work.
Mm-hmm.
Globally, on a global scale, we like we dictate people's lives. The calendar controls us.
Mm-hmm.
Who came up with a 40-hour work week? Who fucking knows? We all take this weekend off. I mean, things are starting to shift since COVID where we're pushing back against those calendar days
Mm-hmm.
and those hours. But the only reason that we've been able to advance as a society and organize the way that we've organized to create what we've created is because we've determined times for
Mm-hmm.
certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're so stuck in it. We're so
But that's why I feel like 2025, the year of completion, like you mentioned, we're in revolution. I really do feel, not to be this like woo-woo predictory person, but I really do feel like something's going to happen next year where we really shake this the fuck up. And even we were talking about a couple episodes back of like the age of Aquarius is like, there are going to be cycles that complete. I mean, we were just talking to before this on the concept that history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And neither of us have a background in history, so we're not gonna divulge in this topic for a long time. But I think that it's super interesting. It's why we have war, then we have peace, and we have like empires rising and falling. Like I feel like we are kind of in the precipice of those things, but we're just not able to see it yet because we're in it, and it's also in a modern day scope. So it looks different than it has before. But I mean, we're in it. Like,
Yeah.
even, the recession of 2008, 2009, like then we had COVID and 10 years later, like.
Well, and history repeating itself, I think, comes down to something which is the same cycle, right? It's inequality, rebellion, and then reform. And so it's this cycle of something's not right, something doesn't feel equal. We need to rebel against it. We need to start this revolution, stand up for ourselves, and say this is what needs to change. Then we start to make laws. We ideally start to reform. And then either the same problem rearises because nothing is stuck or something else comes up. And so it's this cycle of like us as a society saying we need to be better, keep reforming, keep redoing. I mean, that's why we have a constitution that we can rewrite. That's why we have laws that we can rewrite. That's why we reelect government officials. That's why we technically have systems in place where we can constantly readjust to continue to reform society as we change, as the world changes, as the environment, the climate changes, as everything changes. We need to be able to reform, but it's the same cycle. Inequality, what did I say? Inequality, rebellion, reform. It's a pattern.
And even on a micro level, I finished reading Many Lives, Many Masters.
Yeah.
I finished it like a month ago, and I've been meaning to bring it up, and I keep forgetting to bring it up. But on a micro level, even going back to that YouTube video that I mentioned of the guy talking about the missed opportunities and the cycles, it made me realize that I think cycles only exist to teach us something. And they exist so that we learn. And if we don't learn the lesson, we're just going to keep going on this hamster wheel until we do.
Yeah.
But even that's on a micro level, even on a macro level of life and death. I mean, with Many Lives, Many Masters, it's like in the book, it literally says from the master spirits who come through Catherine, it literally says that you repeat lifetimes until you learn the fucking lesson.
This is karma. This is like the Eastern philosophy, Eastern religion ideas, specifically Hinduism, I believe, is the karmic cycle where you carry over your lessons through lifetimes until you learn that lesson. And whatever you have in your lifetime currently is what you are meant to learn, what you signed up to learn, which goes all the way back to how you started this conversation, is that Nothing is a mistake. Everything that's meant to happen is meant to happen. There's no such thing as a missed opportunity. Like, if you really are a faithful person, if you really are a trusting person, if you really are just like, hey, no fucking idea what's going on here. I don't know what I believe in, but I guess I believe in something, but I don't know if it's God, but I don't know if it's source, but I
Yeah.
don't know if it's universe, but I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not atheist, but like, we're kind of all trying to figure that out. Or maybe you do believe in God, or maybe you, whatever. If there's some level of trust, maybe there's some level of karmic belief where what you're experiencing here is truly meant for you.
The guy that I was talking about on YouTube, and I will link him below for you guys to watch because I've been
Yeah,
mentioning
she's
him
just
17
dangling a carrot. She's like, this guy in his double wide.
his title for his video literally was "Just exist, bro.
Love.
Just exist, bro."
Like, it's not that complicated.
No, but
But it is,
what
but
it
it's not.
reminds me of, you know what this whole conversation reminds me of? Super Mario Bros.
Elaborate.
And I think it's maybe helpful to think about these patterns, these cycles, these societal cycles on a really small hypothetical lens and scale of a video game. Also, just a quick side tangent. I used to, whenever I would travel as a kid and be in airplanes, I used to look down at, you know, when you get pretty close to landing and you can see the houses and the suburbs a little bit more clearly. They're not just blobs. Like
You
you
can
can
see the
actually
video
see.
game, yeah.
I literally used to be like, this is Monopoly. We are pawns in a higher powers game. People, like, what if people are just picking us up and
Two little puppets.
literally a game? Like, I've always thought about this concept of a game, but what it reminded me of is I used to play Super Mario Bros. And it's almost like Super Mario Bros. Where you cannot get to the next round until you complete that round. You have to win that round to go to the next round. If you don't, you try again and you try again and you try again and you try again. The difference is that, like, in that you only have a certain amount of lives and then you fucking die. But, like, I mean, kind of similar to this, but you have to keep trying and you have to keep learning. And until you learn that fucking lesson, the cycle's not going to complete.
Well, and I think the interesting thing is that you don't always know what lessons you're supposed to be learning. You don't
Yeah.
always know,
The
okay,
surprise mystery box that you jump on.
yeah, love, love. Yeah, you don't always know like what parts of your life are really the deepest lessons that you're supposed to learn. Sure, you can assume that like, you know, a really big loss in your life or a really big career change or some like very, very lucid, large, transformative events are like, okay, I'm consciously aware that this is a big thing for me and I'm learning something from it. But there are so many moments in your life that really take this spiritual lucidity, this concept of stopping, looking, and being aware to learn what's around you so that everything can be a lesson, so that everything can be part of your karmic cycle. If that's what we're talking about. Everything can be part of this like lens of renewal and refresh that you get to bring into every lifetime, that you get to bring everywhere with you, that you get to learn something from, even if you don't realize that you're actively learning.
And I think that's why, going back to what we said we wanted to have or call in 2025, is like we are learning. I think if there's anything that I've learned this year is that that's all you have to do is just play the game, exist, and receive.
Yeah.
That's literally it. The more that I am open to receiving, the more I receive, versus the more that I'm trying to receive, I don't receive.
Sure. You don't have to try to do anything. I mean,
Just exist, bro.
I have to say that lightly because like that sounds, you don't have to try to do anything. Like
Yeah.
you do have to try in life. But we've talked about this before on the podcast, like the concept of trying to be someone, trying to fit into roles, trying to fit into boxes, trying to accomplish, like the wanting something so bad that you push it away is a real thing. And so maybe we all approach 2025 with just ease and openness. Ease is a good word.
That, I think, is going to be my word.
Ease.
Ease.
Yeah. Have you read, there's two books that I don't know why are coming to mind, maybe just based on this conversation. But have you read the book Rooted?
No.
Oh, who writes it? I'll have to, I'll
put it
get
in
it
the
to you.
show
But
notes.
it's this book called Rooted, and it's pretty much about kind of like rewilding yourself. It's
I've seen this book. I've seen it.
It's absolutely fascinating. It's a mix of a lot of actual research and studies that she grabs from a lot of universities and papers, but also anecdotal stories about her life and her childhood growing up in nature and kind of rewilding herself as an adult and going back and spending time in nature and becoming one, because we are nature, we are the universe experiencing itself. But she talks a lot about how we don't even realize how lost we are from the outside natural world. And this is so earlier in the pod, but you said something about lights and circadian rhythms. She makes a point in the book to talk about how the navigational system of birds is completely messed up because of 24/7 lights in cities. So birds are struggling to migrate. They don't know where to go because they're getting lost at the light from the light pollution. And insects as well.
Justice for the birds and the
A
insects.
justice for the government drones. And then the second book is Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Okay.
That is...
Jessa, I have tried to read this book 5 different times.
What do you mean? It just
cannot get the fuck into it.
You don't need to like read it through front to back. It's just a book that lives on your shelf that you just open every once in a while and you read a few pages.
It's a little too hypothetical for me.
It's wordy and I mean, it's
like throw in a vocabulary word once in a blue moon, you know? So I love beautifully written books, but it's just a little too, I'm like, I can't. I need tangible.
Yeah. It's not a book that you read page 1 to page 300 all the way through. Put it on your shelf as just like this is my womanhood Bible and I must have it and I must use it as just like I need to go read an inspirational couple sentences. Open it up to a page as like a morning pages. Okay, I'm going to pick page 222. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to read 2 sentences and I'm going to see how that can apply to my life today.
Got it.
Like that's kind of how I use that
Did you know that's my number?
222? But you have 777 tattooed.
I know, but I see 222 everywhere.
I see 444.
I know you do. Going back to the concept of rooted and how we're rewilding ourselves, I do want to talk about, before we wrap up, this concept of New Year's Eve, New Year's resolution being this very go, go, go energy, being this very I need to achieve, I need to take action, I need to do. When winter is this time to reflect and to look inward and to shed. And I think we have that part right, because part of New Year's resolutions is to reflect on what worked, what didn't work in this current year. But I think what we're forgetting is that maybe New Year's resolutions are actually an opportunity for us to let go, to write down things that we want to let go of, things that we want to shed, instead of naming and specifying all of the things that we want to achieve.
Yeah, I think it's a good time. I love that, the letting go versus the bringing in. I think that's a good reframe, a good paradigm shift to try something new. And I think it's also a reminder to, like we were touching on, work with your natural energy cycles, and a reminder that just because the calendar flips to 2025 doesn't mean that action needs to start now. Yes, you can work with the seasons if winter feels like a time to kind of be in a little bit of like a lower flow, a softer, more gentler, more contractive time. That's great. Align yourself with the rose bush. But if you also feel empowered, do that. The point is intuitive trust.
What does it feel like for you?
I think it does feel like that. I think that it depends on the projects that I'm working on. It depends on... It's situational. It depends on a lot of other things. And it's also like weekly and daily for me. It's not... Again, microcosms and macrocosms. Like I think I have different levels of energy. Like I have kind of like a yearly energy graph. I have a monthly, I have a weekly, and then I have like one that really aligns with my menstrual cycle. Like it differs. I would say that usually winter is a time where I retreat. And that's just like socially, culturally how things go. Summer, you're kind of more open, you're going out, you're doing things, the weather's nicer. But the point is that you need these times of contraction to be able to bloom and blossom. So be gentle with yourself to be able to take time that doesn't need to look like productivity. To work with your natural energy cycles and to work with the intuitive trust, that's productivity versus putting out and doing just to produce.
Mm-hmm. I was listening to this other guy on YouTube.
Oh my God, Amanda's a YouTube
I was all
kid.
in the shits of YouTube
Amanda's
this weekend.
an iPad kid.
And I actually know this guy's name. His name's Hindsight, HINDZ Sight. He is brilliant. And I was telling Jessa about him where he really just sets up a camera and he talks and he is very like, you know, low stimulation, very artistic, whatever. But he was talking about this reframe of, do I have enough time? Do I have enough time? And reframing that to give it time. Give your goals time. Give these things time. Give your projects time. Instead of asking if you have enough time to achieve them or to complete them, ask how you can give them more of your time. Yeah. And I think it's exactly what you were saying, which is what it brought me to, was give the contraction time. Instead of bulldozing through the self-reflection and introspection and the things that you need to let go and shed, and going straight into the things that you want to achieve or the goals that you have or the resolutions that you have, give the reflection time to be able to establish that foundation of intention that then allows you to not just go and achieve these goals, but be open to receiving them.
So well said. And not one is more important than the other. Not one time in your cycle is more important than the other.
Yes.
They're all equally as important. And it's a reminder of Santiago by David White, like the path, the journey, the turn that you can't yet see, the bump in the road that you can't yet see. Like that's the beauty of it all. And so I think that there's a lot of pressure going into a new year to stick to your resolutions, to be better, to do better, to grow in some sort of way, to be healthier, to get X, Y, and Z done, to start a new project. Like there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes around productivity in the new year. And I would say like to reframe, if you need stillness and you need gentleness and you need softness and you need letting go and releasing, maybe that's like an interesting way to frame your 2025. And again, like this spiritual lucidity that I referred to earlier in the episode is kind of a way that I've been referring to the concept of presence and awareness and mindfulness, of just stopping, looking around you, taking in your life, taking in the people, non-judgmentally, asking yourself questions, not labeling things as good or bad. Like it's really just this practice of being awake and aware and mindful. And that is all you can ask for. Like that's truly the beauty of being alive, is just to look around and to be and to see and to feel. And it doesn't always need to be doing.
Final question. What is your final word of the year for 2025?
One word.
It could be couple.
Could be couple.
Could be couple.
My final word of the year is going to be receptivity.
Dude, I was literally just thinking in my head, receive.
Receptivity.
Obsessed.
Or I really like lucidity.
Yeah, I like that too.
Or sexy.
So those are Jess's 3 final words.
Or fuck ass Bob, because no one commented on my hair.
We forgot to bring it up.
Yeah.
Jessa has a fuck ass bob, and now we will be known as the duo with the fuck ass bobs.
And I feel free. I feel like I cut off so much energy that was living in my hair.
I love that for you.
Well, thanks for listening. We love
What's
you.
my final word of the year?
Oh, God, Amanda's so good at asking questions. I'm the narcissist. We started off the episode with Amanda being the narcissist, and we're ending with me talking about my fuck ass Bob and not asking anyone else questions. What's your final word of the year?
Mine is going to be ease.
Okay, yeah, I didn't ask because you already said it. So anyways.
I thought we were just like submitting our answers, our winning answers.
Okay. We're submitting final submission box. This episode took a lot of twists and turns, so hopefully you could follow the tangents, but like that's just how we do here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We love you. Be safe, be smart, be awake, be aware, be lucid, be open, be easeful, be receptive.
Be graceful and compassionate with yourself.
Yes.
Love you.
Love you. Leave us a review, please.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
We'll
Year.
see you in 2025.
See you next week. 2025. Bye.